Hey yo, what's going on guys? It's your boy No Tires Just Gas back at it again with a brand new video, and today we're going to be starting a brand new series, NASCAR Hot Takes. Today is going to be my hot takes. I'll be giving you all 5 of my hot takes, but in future videos, if you want to leave some comments down below, I will include you guys' hot takes in the future parts of the series. And also, before we start the video, 97.3% of you guys watching the videos are not subscribed, so if you enjoy the content, go down below, like, subscribe, to help me out a lot to improve the videos. With that being said, let's get right into the video. Starting us off at number 1, I'm going to go with that John Hunter Nemechek is being overhated and is very underrated. The last year to a year and a half for him have not been good in the Cup Series. He was last in points last year, but I think that's more the equipment than it is him as a driver, because a lot of people are starting to forget that in 2021 he went down to the Truck Series, won a bunch of races, should have won the championship, and then in 2022 and 2023 he went up to Xfinity in the JGR number 20 and won a bunch of races and should have won a championship in Xfinity, just didn't get luck there at the end of the season. And then also, if you want to go all the way back to 2020, when he was in his original rookie season with Front Row Motorsports, keep in mind, before Front Row Motorsports got good, he was running top 10 at Darlington, consistently finishing top 15 and top 20 in those 30th place Front Row Motorsports cars again before they got good. I would say they started getting good around 2022. That was years before they started to get good. So I think all the hate on John Hunter Nemechek recently is undeserved. I think it needs to stop, because I think John Hunter Nemechek is probably one of the most underrated drivers in the Cup Series field. Put him in a good ride, and he would go win some races. Coming in at number 2, I'm going to talk about John Hunter Nemechek's teammate, Erik Jones. I think that Joe Gibbs Racing made a big mistake getting rid of Erik Jones. I think Erik Jones, since his time in that number 43 car, has matured a lot as a driver. I think he gets in a lot less wrecks than he used to. He's a lot smarter than he used to be, and he's a lot more consistent than he used to be. And, the finishes haven't been there, obviously, consistently, because he's in that, not so good Legacy Motor Club car. Even despite that, he has still won races in that car. Darlington of 2022, he was in contention to win a Kansas race a few years ago, and a few other races. Talladega 2022, he probably should have won. So I think Erik Jones has impressed in that not-so-good number 43 car, and I think if he was still in a Joe Gibbs Racing car, he would be a champion by now. I think when they let him go in 2020, they made a big mistake. I think by now in 2025, he would have won a championship over the last 4 years. I haven't really seen anybody else say that, so I'm probably the only person that thinks this, but I think Erik Jones is probably the most underrated driver in the field. And if he was still with Joe Gibbs Racing, he would be a championship contender year in, year out, and he would have multiple race wins to his name. Coming in at number 3, I'm going to go ahead and say that the Xfinity Series, right now, present day, is not as important and is honestly not as good as the Truck Series, as a developmental series for the Cup Series. If we look at some of the drivers in Xfinity versus some of the drivers in trucks, the Truck Series has a lot more, I think, talented drivers than the Xfinity Series. Truck Series has Corey Heim, Gio Ruggiero, Tanner Gray, and so many more guys that I just can't think of off the top of my head. While the Xfinity Series has talent, it's got a lot of talent, and a lot of young guys that are going to make it to Cup someday, but the Xfinity Series also has a lot more pay drivers than the Truck Series does. Chris Wright has really been the one that stood out the most this year. Chris Wright has been god-awful, and he's really the face of this hot take. The Xfinity Series is more rich kids, while the Truck Series is more legitimate race car drivers that are one day going to make it to Cup, just based off skill. And the other thing with this is, in my 4 years experience of iRacing, now let me be clear, this is not real life, and this isn't really that credible, but I think it's something. In my 4 years of iRacing, running the ARCA car, the truck, the Xfinity car, and the Cup car, I think the Truck Series races more similar and drives more similar to a next-gen Cup car, while the Xfinity car races more like a Gen 6 Cup car or even an ARCA car. So I feel like the Truck Series, as of right now, is a more important step on the developmental ladder. Coming in at number 4, I'm going to say that within the next 3 seasons, so by the end of the 2027 season, Spire Motorsports will be considered a better team all around than Trackhouse. And if we look at the stats over the last few years, Trackhouse has been on a steady decline since the end of 2022 when they finished second in the points. 2023, they got a little worse. 2024, they got a lot worse. Obviously, Chastain won at Kansas. Suarez won at Atlanta, but Atlanta's a super speedway. He won by literally half an inch, so I don't know if we can count that. Chastain obviously earned his Kansas win, but again, still nowhere close to what they were in 2022, and even in 2025 so far through 3 races as of recording this. Chastain hasn't looked that good. Suarez has been in a ton of wrecks. Ben Gisbergen has been in a ton of wrecks. Elio Castroneves at Daytona was terrible. And Trackhouse just doesn't look like themselves. Meanwhile, Spire, the last few years, has been on a steady ascent. They've grown a lot. They've hired a lot of good guys. They got Rodney Childress now, Justin Haley, young Carson Hocevar, who's going to win a race this year, I'm convinced, as well as Michael McDowell to mentor the younger guys. Just at Atlanta, Michael McDowell was 6 laps down, and he still came back to finish P13, and Carson Hocevar was a quarter of a car length away for winning his first Cup race. I just think that Spire Motorsports is well on its way to becoming, honestly, a championship contender within the next 5 years, but I'd say they should expect 2 out of their 3 cars, at least in the playoffs, in the next 3 years, while Trackhouse, I wouldn't be surprised if they fall to a mid-pack team, a consensus mid-pack team. That's just kind of the way the trends have been going. That might be a hot take. If you're a Spire Motorsports or a Trackhouse fan, let me know what you think about that in the comments. That's just me, and let's move on to number 5. And at number 5, this is the reason you clicked on the video. You saw it in the thumbnail. You saw it in the title. Bubba Wallace is the most overrated driver in the NASCAR Cup Series, and I have the stats to back this up. 2021, he gets a rain-shortened win at Talladega. That does not count. It's a rain-shortened super speedway win. And in 2022, his only real win came at Kansas in his teammate's car with his teammate's crew chief and his teammate's pit crew. Also at arguably 2311's best track. So I'll count that as like a half win because he was the driver, but he had a completely different team around him than he's used to. And he hasn't won in almost 2.5 years. And that's just not acceptable, especially when your teammate is making the championship 4, winning the regular season championship, going out winning 2, 3, 4 races a season, and your Joe Gibbs Racing teammates are also doing the same thing. Meanwhile, you are struggling to point your way into the playoffs, and you haven't won in 2.5 years. It's unacceptable. I think if Bubba Wallace went down to the Xfinity Series, he would win races, he would win championships. I think he's a talented race car driver. I just don't think he's a Cup Series caliber driver, at least not a top-tier Cup Series ride caliber driver. And the only reason the 2311 is keeping him around is because the merch sales, the ticket sales, and he's easy to market for sponsors. He's the poster boy of that franchise. That's the only reason he's still there. I think if he went down to Xfinity, he would win a lot more. I just don't think he's a Cup Series caliber driver. I don't think he's talented enough to go out and win Cup Series races, even if you put him in the best ride. Even if you put him in Hendrick Motorsports, I feel like he would still only win maybe 1 race a year. While Kyle Larson and Byron Chase have that when they go out and win multiple races a year. I just don't think Bubba Wallace is as good as people say he is, and the stats back that up. He's obviously talented, but he's just not talented enough, in my opinion. Anyways, y'all, that's going to do it for today's video. Go down below, like, subscribe. I got more videos coming soon. Don't worry. I am back. I know I took a little bit of a break, but I am back, and I'm hoping to do more consistent long videos, maybe every 1 to 2 weeks, and then obviously the edits are going to keep coming. So if you enjoy that type of stuff, like I said, like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.